Hey guys, and welcome to my Prismatic Bardock, the beautiful rainbow deck analysis, profile, archetype, talk, whatever you want to call it. Let's just get right into it with the leader. So just a quick background, this is the leader coming from the anniversary box 2021, which we will get in like a month or something like that, hopefully not too long. Some really cool black multicolor stuff in here. But let's just get right into it, and I'll show you the cards as we go along. So, the leader on the Unawakened side has 5k power and is a Bardock Xeno and is a black Saiyan card. It doesn't matter too much in the cards we've got in the list I'm going to show you, but it can matter as you go into other stuff. But anyway, let's just talk about it. So, permanent number 1, reduce the combo cost by 1 and negate the energy exhaust skill of all black multicolor battle cards with SS4 in their name in all areas. This is quite good. We have a lot of multicolor cards, as I said before, and all of them have SS4 in their name, so that is great, but we'll go into that more when we get to the cards. Permanent for each card color in your battle area and energy area, this card gets plus 2k power. And up to a maximum of 10k power, but like you can only have 5 colors, so that's a kind of known, but that is on both players' turn, not just your turn. So by as early as like turn 1, if you play your cards right, you'll be able to have 11k leader, which is just kind of insane if we're being honest. And then auto when this card attacks, look at the top 5 cards. Look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck and add up to 1 black battle card with SS4 in its name among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. And then awaken when your life's at 3 or less, or you have 4 or more colors in your battle area and energy area. You may draw 2 and flip this over. We're most of the time going to be trying to awaken with that second effect, with having 4 or more card colors in your battle area and energy area. Then on the awaken side is a 15k leader, and you have the same permanent of reducing the combo cost and negating the energy exhaust. Auto when this card attacks, resolve the effects below according to the number of non-black colors presented among black multicolored cards in your battle area and energy. So if 2 plus colors, this card gets 5k power for the battle, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest, which is pretty nice. 3 colors at the end of your turn, you switch up to 1 black multicolor energy to action mode, which is very nice. And at 4 colors, so only at 4 colors we get a draw, but we also get to choose one of your opponent's unisons and remove a marker from it. So having a bit of unison control is lovely. Moving on to the cards, we're going to talk about these 2 cards before we get onto our black multicolor cards. So our unison of the deck is a SS4 Broly, and he's got a permanent for each marker on this card. It gains 5k power during your turn, so he becomes quite a big beater early on. Then auto limit 1, if this card has 1 marker, so if you play it for 1, when this card is played, add a marker to it for every 2 multicolored cards in your energy. So if you have, so turn 1 you charge and you play this, he's going to come on with 2 markers, which is pretty nasty, and he will be like a 20k beater on turn 1, which is pretty insane. Sorry, for every 2 multicolored cards, so you'll need turn 2. You'll have to, on turn 2, if you play him for 1, he'll be a 20k beater. Then he has to activate main -1, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost greater than their current energy and send it to its owner's warp, which is quite nice. It's a bit of early removal for big annoying things, which is honestly really good, and it's one of the main reasons we have him in the deck. Then auto -X, when your leader is attacked, you may have it get plus 5k for the battle for each marker you moved from this card with this skill. So just say you played it for, I don't know, 3 energies. So you played it for 1, and then you gave it 2 more markers because you had 4 multicolored cards. So it was 3 markers in total. You could swing with this for 25k, which is nasty, very nasty. And then they swing, and then you can just combo for 15k. Quite a nasty effect, and is quite a good unison. Won't stay on the board too long, but we don't mind too much. And then we have SS4's Call, which is like the searcher of the deck. So activate main, limit 1. If your leader is a black Bardock Xeno or a Saiyan card with SS4 in its name, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 2 black cards with SS4 in their card names among them to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. If you added 2 cards to your hand, choose 1 card in your hand and place it at the bottom of your deck. So unfortunately it doesn't go plus. This would be a really nasty card if it went plus, like the AOD card. But that is okay. So we're not drawing too many cards in this deck, unfortunately, as you will notice. However, it does make a lot of plays, and this just helps you search, so you'll see the right cards at the right time. Moving on to the first multicolored cards we have, and this is our SS4 Son Goku Prismatic Burst and our SS4 Vegeta Prismatic Burst. So both of them have a similar order. I will read Goku's first. So if your leader is a Black Saiyan card and has a total of 3 or more energy between you and your opponent at the end of the battle in which this card was used in a combo from your hand, play this card from your drop area in rest, then choose up to one of your opponent's Unison and negates its skills for the turn. And then the Vegeta has a very similar order, but instead you still play it in rest mode, but then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 3 less and return it to its owner's hand. So quite nasty. Both of these cards are very good. However, the Vegeta is a little bit better because it's a little bit more defensive, as negating your Unison's skills can be played around relatively easily. Then they both have the same activate main. Send this card to its owner's warp. Choose up to one black multicolored battle card with an energy cost of 2 in your hand and play it. At the start of your next turn, add this card to your hand from your warp. So eventually you'll start to be able to cycle these guys, so your hand size won't get too small because you're playing something and then eventually returning it to your hand. But early on, you're going to struggle a little bit with hand size. But both these cards are quite good, and we have a lot of 2-drop black multicolor cards. In fact, these are our only non-2-drop black multicolor cards. Moving on, we have our negates, our counter attack and counter play for this deck. So you have SS4 Son Gohan Prismatic Burst. Negate the attack and play this card. When this card is played, you may choose one card in your hand and discard it. If you do, your opponent can only attack with battle cards and unison cards X more times for the turn, where X is equal to the number of colors in their energy. So if they're a monocolored deck, they can attack one more time. If they're a multicolored deck, they can attack more than one time. Then permanent, if you activate the counter skill on this card in your hand and there are 3 or more black multicolored cards in your battle area and or energy, reduce the activation cost of this card's counter skill by 1 black, so it will just cost 1 green, which is pretty good. This is a very good negate for 1 energy in the grand scheme of things. And then you have SS4 Bardock Prismatic Burst. Play this card, and if the battle card being played has 20,000 power or less, place it in its owner's drop instead. Then if you have 2 or more black multicolored cards in your energy, you may add a card from your life to your hand when activating this card's counter skill from your hand. If you do, reduce the activation cost of this card's counter skill by 1 black. So it just comes 1 red, and is a very, very good counter play. It's quite similar to Omen of Awakening, but you don't have to have the Unison play, which is very nice. It also goes to hand instead of the drop. So this will deal with your opponent's nasty threats. It's quite nice. And then we move on to our Prismatic Aegis cards. So once again, each of the Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Bardock has one of these. And they are the same respective colors. So we have SS4 Son Goku Prismatic Aegis. So I'll just quickly go over it. They all have the same start of the order. So the order goes off when you play it or when you charge it, and if your leader is a black your leader is a Bardock Zeno, and you already have a black multicolored card in your energy other than this card. So they don't go off turn 1, but they'll start going off turn 2 onwards. So we have Son Goku, SS4 Son Goku Prismatic Aegis, which is probably the worst one, but is a 16k blocker. That when you play it or charge it, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and negates its skill till the end of your opponent's next turn, which is quite nice, especially against small decks that have the Gohan or Piano or stuff that just gains advantage both turns. And then when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, switch it to rest mode, and KO it if it's a skillless battle card. Then we have SS4 Vegeta Prismatic Aegis, that when it's charged or when it's placed in your when it's played or placed in your energy, you choose up to one card in your opponent's hand, place it at the bottom of the deck, then your opponent draws 1, and then when this card is played, draw 2, then choose 1 card in your hand, place it at the bottom of your deck, and it's also a critical, which is quite nice. Bardock is a Goku is a blocker. Vegeta is probably one of the better ones to play because it just cycles through cards. And then when you play Vegeta, you don't actually lose a card in hand, you get to go even, which is quite nice, and it's also critical. Then moving on, we have SS4 Son Gohan Prismatic Aegis, where when you charge it or play it, if your opponent has a Unison with 3 or more markers, you get to remove 1 marker. And then when this card is played from your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and send it to its owner's warp. So it's a little bit of removal, which is quite nice and is a double striker. And then we have SS4 Bardock Prismatic Aegis, which is unique barrier. It does cost 3, but if your leader is a Bardock Xeno, you get to reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. And then if your leader is a Bardock Xeno card and you have a black multicolored card in your energy other than this card when this card is played or placed in your energy, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards or Unison cards and gets neg 2k power for the turn for each color in your energy. And then this guy has a really cool activate battle, which is choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets a neg 5k power for the turn. So really quite nice cards in general. Now, as you noticed, when we looked at the counterattacks, which I'll quickly go back to, you still have to pay their color cost. So green for Gohan and red for Bardock, which means you have to be really careful with how you charge your energies. And in total, we want to have like all 4 energies by turn 4. So bit awkward, but we'll get to some ways to play around it. And then we have our super combo that came out. This Kai super combo it's unique. It is unique for sure. So it is a 0 cost 1k combo. Then if your leader is black and your life's at 4 or less, when this card is using a combo from your hand, draw 1, and then this card gets 2k combo power for each for the battle for each card in your for each card color in your energy area. So if you have 5 different colors, it is a 11k combo that draws a card. So it's only worth it once you get like turn 4 onwards, and if you've charged 4 different cards. So it may be worth it as a one-of in the deck, which I've currently got it at, as you will see. However, what it's worth is really up to you. But now we have the big finisher of the deck, SS4 Bardock, SS4 Gogeta Prismatic Burst. When this card is replayed, resolve the following effects based on the card colors in your energy. So red, if you got a red, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. If you have a blue, you draw 3 cards. If you have a green, your opponent chooses 2 cards in the hand and discards them. If you've got a yellow, you choose up to one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. So that's probably the least needed one, is the yellow one, but it's still quite good. Black, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards and send them to his owner's warp. So it's a 10 drop, however. For 5, we choose 1 Son Goku Xeno and 1 Vegeta Xeno card in our hand and or battle area and place them in our drop. You play this card from your hand. So he is a 35k quadruple strike. So he's very, very nasty indeed. And if the red being able to deal 1 damage is quite nasty. But now we've gone over all the new cards, let's go over the deck list I have made. So we're going to start off with 3 Brolys and 4 SS4 calls. We don't need to see the Broly Unison. He's nice, we don't need to see it. And we also don't want to be charging mono black. We always want to charge a multicolored card. So we don't want to just like see too many of these and charge them. You can quite easily run 2 of the Broly, but we do run a couple Spirit Boost cards, which is why we run 3. There's also a couple ways to like discard cards, so it's not too bad if we've got multiple in our hand. Excuse me. But we do end up running 3 of this guy in the deck just because on turn 2, he is a 20k beta for 1 energy that can also warp one of your opponent's battle cards with a energy cost greater than their current energy. And if they swing into this, oh well, after the fact, he is still quite a nice card and can get rid of big threats. Then we have 4 SS4 Call as our searcher. Now, if you've got one of these in your opening hand, you're in a really good spot. And then you kind of just want to play like 1 for each turn after that. And it's really good because SS4 Calls can grab more SS4 Calls if required. Because SS4 Call has SS4 in its name. So that's quite cool. Moving on, we have 3 Son Goku Prismatic Burst and 4 Vegeta Prismatic Burst. Vegeta's just a little bit better because its on play auto is nice, but it is important to note if they counterplay it, you still get the auto to return something to its hand. Unfortunately, that does like technically increase their cards in hand and decreases yours, so it's a bit annoying that way. However, he's a 16k, so it's a bit annoying to remove, so they can't just like swing into it willy nilly. But yeah, SS4 Vegeta Prismatic Burst is a little bit better than Goku, but you want to play these because you want to be able to combo with them, play them onto your field to get the effect. Now there has to be a total of 3 or more energy between you and your opponent, so if you go first, it's your turn 2, it's live, and if you go second, it's their turn 2, it's live, so you're like after your turn 1 when you're playing defensive. So they're pretty cool cards. Activating main to be able to play all the other 2 drops we showed is very nice. So we definitely want more Vegetas. We also just want more blue energy, because I'll get to that later. But yeah, these are two decent cards. So we move on to these guys. Both of these are 4. If anything, you probably cut the Bardock down to 3, because you don't need him as much, as counterplays are always, especially because they either cost 2 or you have to take a life. So it's a little bit less prevalent than the Gohan. You potentially even take him down to 2 if required, especially with how awkward energy is. But this Gohan is definitely a 4 of. He's a great floodgate, and you can drop him as early as turn 3 for 1 energy, or turn 2 for 2 energy. So very, very... actually, you can even drop him for 1 on turn 2 if you've got a multicolor card in your battle area, which is very, very nasty indeed. Moving on, we have 3 of each of these Prismatic Aegis cards. As I said, the yellow stuff isn't as prevalent, so you could probably cut down on some of the yellow stuff, because you don't ever need the specified yellow. The only reason you want a yellow energy is a bit later on, where you want to be able to get the full effect of your leader, and of... But if you have one of these in the battle area, then you're fine. But full effect of your leader and full effect of your 10-drop quadruple strike guy. And then you got SS4 Vegeta. We've got 3 of him. We may uptick him to 4, because, as I said, having blue energy is quite important. And it's also a draw 2, bottom deck 1, and critical. So he's quite nice to have on the board, as we do like to gain some advantage. Then we have SS4 Son Gohan Prismatic Aegis. We've got 3 of this guy. Green is an important color to charge. However, we only have 3 of each of these charge targets, which may be wrong. We may need to increase it later on. As you only, like, they only really the charge effects only really become live from turn 2, and I don't know, you only really need to charge each of these once, and then after that you don't really want to see them too much, so they're not that good, but I think 3 is a good amount now. And then you got SS4 Bardock, which is a guy that you probably want to play, simply because they activate battle once per turn. You get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards to give it neg 5k, so it's like a 5k combo power every once a turn, which can accrue in a fair bit of advantage over the long run, which is quite nice. Moving on, we have our big boss monsters. So we have 4 SS4 Gogetas thwarting the Dark Empires. We got 2 SS4 Gogetas thwarting the Dark Empires. So when he's in rest mode, he can't be carried by opponent's skills, and he's at 8 drops, which means the only free counterplay he gets hit by is going to be a God Sealing Technique, and this deck does struggle a bit against blue, but that is okay. Auto once per turn, this card attacks. Your opponent may choose 2 cards in the hand, and so your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand, 2 of their battle cards ignoring barrier, and send this to their own swap. At the end of your turn, you get to switch this card to active mode. So it is quite good. On turn 4, we want to tap out for this guy, purely because it's a 35k blocker. Its on-swing effect is pretty nasty, and with your leader, you get an untap one at the end of your turn. You get an untap one, which is really nasty. So that's our SS4 Gogeta, and then on turn 5 we want to tap out for our other SS4 Gogeta. Now the reason these are at such low numbers is because SS4's Call can search, and our Unawakened side on the leader can search for these relatively easily. Moving on for our super combos, currently we have 1 Supreme Kai of Time, Prism Bringer, and 3 Vegeta. However, you may want to change that so you just have 4 Vegeta. But Supreme Kai of Time is quite nice, because if you, on turn 4, if you got all those energies, 11k combo and draw 1 is quite nice for 1 card in hand. Can make a 25k double strike be dealt with just 1 card in hand, which is pretty nice. However, once you get to turn 4, you should be relatively comfortable sitting behind a Gogeta thwarting and like a Gohan negate or something like that. So you shouldn't hopefully have to worry too much. However, we will see at the end of the day. Then moving on to some of, I guess, a bit more of the niche cards. We have 2 of each of these cards from the Master Saiyan starter deck. So we have a dual attack dual attack 15k with unique, activate main limit 1 spirit boost. For 1 energy, if your leader is a Master Saiyan or a Bardock Xeno card, you may discard this card from your hand. Your opponent may choose one card of their life and place it in the top, so you either pay one for them to crit a life, which they probably won't do too often, or if they don't, you can play this card from your drop area. So it's a 15k dual attack for 1 energy, and the fact we run Bean makes it pretty decent to run this. And then moving on, we've got Dark Broly Spirit Boost Berserker. If you have 3 more energy and you choose 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 yellow card from your drop area and send it to your warp, you play this card from your drop and it gains critical. So it's a 30k critical that on play negs one of your opponent's cards 15k. So it is quite a big beefy battle card, 30k for 1 energy. Quite nice. I don't have too much else to say about Dark Broly Spirit Boost Berserker, but we all know I love Dark Broly and our 30k battle cards. Then moving on to some of the older cards we've got in the deck, we have 4 Sensu Bean because we are running blue, and which is why charging blue is so important, because Sensu Bean is just a very strong card. And then we have 1 Champa because always got to run Champa. But honestly, in this deck you may not need Champa as much because like your boss monsters are pretty big and you kind of just want to get rid of their resources and control them that way. So Champa may not be needed in this deck, but it is also just Champa is just a very powerful card to run. And then finally we have SS4 Bardock Fighting Against Fate, which is a dual attack overwhelm, which is searchable off like all our entire deck, which is nice. And then our secret rare for this deck is going to be Heroine's Lineage. The reason I've got Heroine's Lineage in this deck as the secret rare over Kai is I think we have enough Unison control and we have a fair bit of board control, if I'm being honest. And this is just a little bit more defensive because you can just steal one of their cards, which is quite nice. Being able to steal one of their 7 or lessers means you can use it for offense yourself to clear their Unisons and just be a bit nasty. So I definitely like having Lineage in this deck. And then some cards that you can think about. So Max Power Kamehameha is a 1-cost negate, or it can, for 1 energy, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. The energy costs greater than their current energy and send it to its owner's warp. So it's also a bit more spot removal for that 1 energy. So it's quite a good splashable card. Definitely something to consider in this deck. Another one is the SS4 Bardock Spirit Renaissance Unison. So this is searchable off basically everything on your front side. And it has a auto once per turn. When you move a marker from this card using a Spirit Boost, send up to one of your opponent's cards from their drop to the warp. One of their battle cards. It is quite nice. It's nothing too fancy. However, it's just a bit of a beefier Unison, hard to get rid of. And if running the Spirit Boost cards, it's not a bad option. It also just draws a card once per turn. And because this deck doesn't have too much draw, it's definitely something worthwhile. And then you activate main until the end of your opponent's next turn. They can't attack with battle cards unless they choose one card in their hand and send it to the warp each time. So it's a bit more of a floodgatey effect than -2. However, I don't think it will come up too often. The reason this Bardock is quite nice is because you can tap 2 for it, plus it up, so it's on 3 markers. And then your opponent's most likely going to waste 3 attack swing into this, which you don't really mind because you're going to stay on high life for quite a long time, I honestly think. Or you would like to. With this deck, you'll also like to draw cards, but you kind of just want to be able to get to turn 4 and turn 5 relatively easily each game. And then we have Margin Boo Human Extinction Attack, which is the IAR for black. And then when this card, so it's 15k for 1 energy. Then when you activate this card, choose up to 1 battle card in your opponent's drop area, send to the warp. Then place up to the top 4 cards of your deck in your drop. So you don't have to, but you can. The reason I do like Human Extinction Attack in this deck, it allows us to play other typical black strategy cards, such as the SS3 Gogeta Thwarting Dark Empire, SS Gogeta Fearless Fusion, as well as stuff like the 4-drop Margin Buu, which you can pay 1, send it from drop to warp, and then at the end of your turn, you can discard a card and draw 2, which will just allow you to have a bit more draw power on the deck, which is kind of what this deck's lacking a little bit. Moving on though, some other cards to think about that you can run, which we can run because we are running multicolor stuff, is you got Giant Ball. When this card, when the battle card is being played, you may choose it, switch to the rest, then draw 1 card. It is quite nice. It makes use of the yellow energy a bit more, which we currently don't have too much of it use for, because you're never really tapping yellow. You don't really want to tap it too much. So this is quite nice to just give a reason to have yellow. You can run Topo for a secondary, big, beefy battle card, Floodgate. And then finally, you can run Zamasu the Eliminator, quite funnily, because you can charge a blue and a yellow multicolor black cards, and then go into Zamasu the Eliminator for a blue and a yellow, and just completely surprise your opponent, because no one will really think about running this card in the deck. But anyway, guys, that is my analysis and deck profile. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.